Welcome, Michael here, continuing. This is my 50th script, even though some are overlapping, and basically looking at sites and paths and taking on simple exercises to get you started. And I'm actually going to focus on this top section pretty much here and leave it up to you to play around with what you could do with the geometries here. So what I found is a very wonderful visualization tool that for the beginner you're going to want to use. So I ended up making a grid pretty nicely, and I can choose what I want it to be. If I wanted it 2 by 2, I could do that. If I wanted it 4 by 4, I could do that, which actually makes 5 by 5. 2 by 2 makes 3 by 3, and 10 by 10 makes 11 by 11. This is kind of a nice sphere, and I think I'll keep it small to start with right here. Even though you can't really make out all the geometries, but you can see what's kind of happening before we end up making a more heavy script with the spheres. What I like to do is visualization. Pull a point in and then choose to make it bigger, small, to see all the geometries. This geometry, I like this kind of tool. It's kind of something I've made up for myself. If I want to raise the radius, I can see what data and points are actually being included. When I shrink it, you can see this one still holds because that middle point is going to be important later on. And I just put it into a sphere from radius visualization, and I use the whatever color tool here to just right-click over here and then choose a color that it will be if it's not selected. Really nice for previews. Then I'm going to find a point within this grid system by dividing. And of course, divided by 2, I'm always going to get this and put it through an integer. I should end up in the center, kind of center area of these points. But if I wanted to, you see the geometry is pretty driven by this point where it is on the top tier, the green tier. So I'm just going to leave it at 2, but leave that a little bit parametric. Then I'm going to want to deal with paths, sites, indices, and items. But I'm going to want to find a site which looks like this. It looks like a path with elements at the end of it. So 002 ABC with 2 elements or 3 elements at the end of it, which makes sense. That's where I want to be. So I'm counting 0, 1, 2. I'm going to the middle, and I'm going down this branch 0, 1, 2 to end up at that piece of data right there. So that may come into play. And what I've done is I've done item from site, which is a nice tool. So you have a site here. I'm trying to pull an item, and the item the item from site is going to come from this tree, which I put a relay to because I use it a lot in the script, and I actually use it farther on when I do some playful stuff down here, but we're going to leave that for right now. So taking that tree, I want to find that site, which is defined by this path and these indices, and I'm able to pull an item, and that item itself can then have a radius that I can play with if I want to use it or not later on. And actually, that points and distance from other points will actually drive this, which you'll see later on as I take this. The radius of those points will actually come in and play a little bit. I take the points that are here, going back to all these points, which you can see, once again, to make them visualize. So all these points have a distance from this center point, and that gives me a distance, and then I'm just choosing to move in a z direction the spheres that pump these ones out in the end. I do a very similar thing here that I'm actually going to go in, and I've created, and I shouldn't have got ahead of myself, I do want to get into replacing sites and playing with the data a little bit. I have another relay as I keep going along, but I have this point here that's hard to see, but I'll make it large and you'll see it. It's this one. It's this blue one right here. And that is a site that I've interjected into the script that actually, as I move that site, all the other data works as an attractor to that point to drive the other geometries. So I really like this visualization technique that I've come up with just for myself to get a handle of geometries. You want to start with something like this to begin with before you start making complex architectures. And I'm not sure if you should go back to architectural traditional text and start with elevations and floor plans and sections and start to drive geometries. But right now you want to drive it by points. So that's another one that runs through distance and plays between moving that. And you can see that those are the blue ones that go up accordingly. And these are the green ones that go up accordingly. Once again, I'm just using that. And then if I want to visualize what I've actually done throughout the script, a very simple script, not too many. I think you should start with scripts that are between 12 and 24 nodes, components to start. But as I go in here and then crank this up, you can start seeing the visualization as the script slows down, and it looks like a really nice attractor point. Keep in mind you could do double attractor points. You could do mass addition, mass multiplication on these things. But you can see the spheres that are coming into play, the visualization of this dark orange and this dark blue, from the original orange to the blue to the green. And you can actually start to really set your sights on this. As I move that orange one around from the bottom base to have it show up, I'll just show you this as I move around. All those other geometries have to play off the distance of that from that to these other points, which drives these points. So you see how things are kind of derivatives. I guess I could use that word, from what was actually there. And then this point itself, the blue one, can really have some nice finesse over the two of them. And start thinking of this as an attractor point that would drive your geometries, not unlike any of the curve attractor or point attractors they were doing in Grasshopper 1, but it's a wonderful way to think of visualizing. You can see the script as it tries to catch up and do things. I am trying to find out how to make mesh spheres that are lighter weight than the spheres, but the meshes seem to come from spheres to drive those meshes. So I'm trying to find lightweight geometries, and I'll probably avoid these physical things. Now, what I do want to do in the second half is take this tree, deal with replacing items from different sites that I can drive here. I can get a hold of those sites, the paths with the items. I can drive other geometries with different radii. I can go in and test replace and site from paths that might come into play. This one I actually played with replacing sites, sites from offset, and sphere from radius. Actually, spheres from radius is irrelevant. It's just for visualization. Then I have path from tree, site from tree. Sorry, site from path, replace sites again to generate other geometries. So you want to get in here and see what you can do, build some simple models, wrap your head around it, and certainly get your head accustomed to this, because the more this is streamlined, the less you're going to have nightmares in Grasshopper 1 dealing with data trees and dealing with choosing, do I need shift paths? Do I need relative items? Do I need the path mapper? Does it crash when I change my script upstream? All these things that Grasshopper 1 had, I think Grasshopper 2 is going to solve for, but you've got to plug through this one step at a time. Thanks for watching. Michael Wickerson. Lists, paths, trees, data trees, and sites. Thanks for watching.